the stories, and you guys, we've talked about Carol in Missouri. Um, I've done this. I've talked to thousands of people over the years, literally, and heard all kinds of different encounters, and most of them are very similar to one another, but they're with variations. But after this many years, you think you've heard just about everything. The first time I talked to Carol, I was sitting there with my mouth hanging open because she
Hmm.
talked about her neighbor, and the neighbor, and she lives in a very small community in Missouri, and it's not that far from Arkansas, where the legend of Boggy Creek and all that stuff, the Boggy Creek monster is. So, and I think it's just a few miles from what she told me. But anyhow, she talked about her neighbor. Another lady was coming over to her place. Apparently, they have a little path between their properties, and she got knocked on the side of her head, knocked out. So when she woke up, here was this big hairy creature kind of standing over her, looking at her, and then she passed out again. So the next time she woke up, this thing had opened her midsection and was eating her small intestines in front of her.
Ah, what the heck?
And
Wow.
and one of the other neighbors had just happened to come along with these dogs, and the thing got up and bolted. Thankfully for her, and then she showed Carol the scar where they took her to the hospital and fixed her and everything. But um, that's pretty awful. I mean, there is another guy I'm in contact with. I probably shouldn't say too much, because of his position, but being on the kill teams and stuff, because they do have kill teams for the bad ones, and it's not something they do very often because they're so dang hard to kill. They can't. He said usually the best they can do is kind of disrupt their patterns when the bad ones are coming around doing stuff.
Hmm.
Situations like we talked about with all the folks that are having their livestock being killed. But this a lot of these happen with people too when they start coming around, and some stories people contact me about all kinds of stuff. Some, in many cases, they'll contact me for help in their situations. There was a couple in Australia, in fact, with the Yowie, which is very similar to what we got here.
Oh yeah.
They were being stalked by this thing around the church, and I told them all the things to do, but um, for whatever reason, they weren't really following the instructions as well, so they had to move away from there. It got so bad. But in every other circumstance, like Carol's and some others, the measures that we come up with actually work.
Hmm.
So, and we've talked about that, with using a combination of bleach and lemon juice, because these things are very territorial. So you spray the perimeter of where you don't want them to cross. They get mad about it, but they will stay on the other side of that boundary.